When I was in college, I had a class, an intro to philosophy class. When I was in college, I had an intro to philosophy class. And what was interesting about this intro to philosophy class was we had a textbook that was very, very anti-God. I don't know how else to term it. And this was back in around 2001 and 2002, 2001. Can't remember which one it was, but the textbook author went out of his way to make fun of people of faith, picking apart passages from the Bible as examples of irrationality, picking apart faith as examples of irrationality. He would very often use any example in Scripture to try and say something that was in poor taste. I remember, and even going so far as and his book was full of little colorful cartoons, which was part of what made the book probably enjoyable for young college kids. Was just this, hey, philosophy book about people like Jean-Paul Sartre and Plato and things like Aristotle, and then he's got all these wonderful cartoons everywhere. But it's really interesting that he goes to links to make fun of the Bible. There was even he even pulls out the passage, "The fool says in his heart there is no God," and he has this picture of a big hand with God, like God's hand, and then this guy like characteristic like Mad Magazine type of character with eating ice cream with a beanie on his head, who is clueless about life, clueless about everything that he's doing. And then he flips that in the next page, and he changes the headline to "Fool or Super Secret Spy Agent something" or whatever. I was like, why is that necessary? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It didn't even go along with his argument. I'm not even sure where to begin with that. But what I did want to point out was part of that book was really, really hammering on Thomas Aquinas' 5 reasons to believe in God, the 5 arguments, right? And of all those arguments, he just kind of picked them apart one by one, and he used David Hume to do a lot of it, which is so silly. This is the thing. It's like, I do want to talk about the 5 reasons to believe in God. At least I'll talk about some of them. I'm not going to talk about all of them. Because you don't need to talk about all of them. I mean, really, they all kind of work together. It's like they all basically say the same thing. And you don't really need all of them in order to make the point, although all of them standing together pretty much attack the same argument from different angles. And there's actually more than 5. You could come up with like 5 more, 10 more, 20 more from different angles. So in reality, this work could be completely expounded. You could do more with it. But let's give you an example. The cosmological argument. The cosmological argument pretty much is that there is there has to be an unmoved mover. If you go back far enough in time, you have to find, the buck has to stop somewhere, where there has to be something that started everything. All right? And that argument works in cause and effect theory. So there's a cause effect for everything, time theory, all that sort of stuff. So that's how matter works, right? If you change the nature of matter, it doesn't really change anything, and I'll go into that. But I remember this author slamming the cosmological argument, basically saying, and he used David Hume, because David Hume came up with this idea that, well, cosmological argument doesn't have to make sense, because it just means that just because we think there has to be an end doesn't mean there has to. There can just be no end. Why does there have to be an unmoved mover at the end of it? Why can't we just remove this guy and say it's all good and the infinity makes sense? Well, except it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. The human mind has difficulty conceiving of infinity. It can't translate it. It's hard. Infinity, just something goes on forever. Your brain just can't process it. The only way you can make it work is to like twist it into a circle. But even then, you put a finite guideline on it, and that's where the problem is. It's like Hume sits there and says that, yeah, it makes sense. Sure, it's logical. But if we just remove logic for a second, well then, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm comfortable with that. I'm okay. You guys okay? Yeah, I'm okay. And that's okay for this author to say that. And I'm sitting here like 20 years later, from having read that textbook, embarrassed for academia, just flat out embarrassed that some guy with a PhD, possibly multiple PhDs, took the time to put that in a textbook on the collegiate level to basically use the Humean argument that, well, it can have an infinite ending. It can be infinite. It can not end. Sure, why not? 1 plus 1 doesn't have to equal 2. It can equal 3. We're cool with that. And just, it's like, what? Like, that's embarrassing. Like, that is flat out embarrassing. There's no way around that argument. It's like, let's say that you take that and you twist it in a circle, and you say, okay, so all time, all cause and effect is cyclical. It all circles back on each other, which means it doesn't have to have a beginning now. Yay, we win. That still doesn't make sense. Something defined the circle the way it was. Something started the circle. Something gave the circle its beginning point. And even if it didn't have a beginning point, it still had to be defined somewhere, somehow. It's like, matter has to begin. Something has to begin somewhere. And that's logic. You can't just use logic for everything and then suspend it to say what you want. That doesn't make sense. Why invest in language? Why invest in life? Why invest in anything if logic doesn't matter? That's pretty much what the Humean argument is. I'm going to tell you there's no way around the cosmological argument. There's no way. Or the teleological or any of the others. Ontological, it doesn't matter. There has to be an unmoved mover or an undefined definer. There has to be an infinite something. Whatever the infinite thing is that we cannot comprehend, that's out there, that our brains cannot possibly, the mystery, whatever it is, ultimate reality, it's got to be out there. And if you say anything about ultimate reality that is less than God, then you're logically incorrect. Because if you would ask any question about what infinity is, does it have consciousness? I don't think it does, because there can't be a God. Wrong. It's infinite. It has to have consciousness. Does it know it? Is it omniscient? Well, I don't think it's omniscient, because God's not omniscient. Wrong. It has to be omniscient. It's infinite. It's the ultimate reality. You cannot get away from ultimate reality. It is there. It exists. Logically. There's no way around it. And the only way to say it doesn't exist is to suspend logic for a moment and just say, yeah, we're cool with that. I mean, modern academia is quite comfortable suspending science and logical reality when it wants to. That's true. It just depends on the social movement of the day and how people feel. They're very willing to tell students like, oh, no, for you guys, it's okay. You don't have to believe this. It's all right. We can suspend reality for a moment. They're comfortable doing that. So I guess it's not surprising. It's just you expect more of academia, and especially in 2000. 2000 is how many hundreds of years after like Descartes and Hume and almost 2,000 years, more than 2,000 years after Aristotle? Like, how do you come to the point where you say that, we don't have to believe that there's an infinite out there. We can just chop it off and say, the finite just goes on for forever. There's just an infinite number of finite things. Which it makes no sense. It's like, think more than one-dimensionally. There's more to this, but you can't get around this argument. And the ontological argument that I can conceive, I mean, it all comes together. The ontological argument, I can conceive of a being of which there is no greater. Therefore, God. Ontological argument. It's like, that's, in essence, that's what this all comes down to. Cosmological, teleological, ontological, like, everything works together in this sense, and from different angles. But you could do any number of things. Like when I was in college, I came up with my own. It was the faith argument. Basically, it worked from existentialism. It was like, I don't know if anything really exists. And if I questioned everything, and I got down to the point where I can't prove anything, even myself, I got to the point, or my own consciousness, I got to the point where I just had to have faith. Because I cannot choose not to have faith in my own existence or own consciousness. I can't. I'm programmed to do it. At no point can I just suspend that and say like, yeah, I'm not conscious. I can't. I can't do it. And I mean real consciousness, deep consciousness. I'm not talking about consciousness like I'm awake, all right? I'm talking about real volition, like actual sentientness. I can't just forfeit my sentientness. It's there, all right? And if I can't do that, I have to have faith in it. Well, then it's like, what else do I have to have faith in? I have to have faith that I only exist as I am. I mean, I can't believe that I'm everything. I'm ultimate reality. I'm God, and I can change anything I want to. I can't believe that and make a difference. I can't. I'm defined. I have to accept that I'm defined. I've been defined by somebody. Who has defined me? Right? Who has defined me? I also have to accept my logic, my tools, my reason, and my empiricism, my senses, as far as I can work them out. because that's all I got. I don't have anything else. And so that's the way I perceive reality. And so I have that. That's all, and I use that on a daily basis. There is nobody who wakes up in the morning and says, yeah, I'm not going to use this today because I don't have faith in it. You can't do that. It's like you can't. So everybody has faith in these things. And once you believe that there is an ultimate definer of reality, and you have to, everybody believes there is. So if there's an ultimate definer, how many ultimate definers are there? Are there multiple gods or one God, right? Because that's what we're talking. So there's a definer of us. That thing is God over us. Are there multiples or one? If we say there's multiples, well then who defined those multiples? I mean, it doesn't make sense until you get to one. It all came from one, and then nothing else comes after it. It has to be an infinite unmoved mover, an infinite designer, an infinite definer has to go before everything. And it stops. That's as far as you can go. You can't go any further than that. And so basically what I proved was that every single person in reality believes in God. They have faith in God. They have faith in ultimate reality because they're programmed to. You cannot unfaith. You can't unbelieve. You function with it. That's as soon as you have sentientness, you believe in faith. You have faith in God. You have faith in ultimate reality. And so that was my whole point. But it's the same argument as the causal law. They all work together. They all say the same thing. At the end of it, there has to be something infinite. We can't understand infinity, and that infinity has to be the end all. And if to say anything less of that infinity other than God is untruthful, is incorrect logically. Therefore, God is logical. Anyway, I just wanted to go through that with you guys. A lot of people love to talk about this stuff. A lot of people still are just really intrigued by the God argument, like, wow, can we logically prove there's a God, scientifically prove there's a God? I'm just telling you right now, it's a metaphysical argument, and it's unbeatable. You cannot disprove God. It's like every single scientific achievement they think gets to the point where it's like, oh, hey, we can prove there's no God because there's this God particle. Well, who created the God particle? Who put it there? Who put any of it there? Who defines existence? It's like these are questions that science is. It doesn't matter how powerful science gets about reality. It doesn't matter if this whole reality we've got turns out to be some kind of metaphysical construction. Maybe we're all living in the Matrix. I don't know. Who built the Matrix? Who built the thing that put us here? If we're all a dream, who's dreaming? I mean, we can't, there's no way out of it. All right? So please, stop with the embarrassment in academia. Stop with the embarrassing notion that there's no way, it's like that God is a ridiculous concept. And stop taking people of faith and turning on them and telling them that they're stupid and keep them from getting degrees and barring them from your programs, all right? Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop telling people if they believe in God, they're going to fail a class, they're going to get kicked out of the program. Just stop it already, all right? It's not rational. It's not a behavior thing. It's not a legal thing, all right? It's not an academic thing. It's a prejudice thing. That's what it's about. Because at the end of the day, I just proved to you everybody has to believe in ultimate reality. That's where it comes down to. Everyone has to. So just stop it, all right? Anyway, I hope you guys got a lot of that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, I mean, feel free to throw them in there. I would love to talk to you about this stuff. It's right up my alley with my academic field and everything that I've been involved in. So I would just love to do it. But just give me your best shot. I would love it. But take care and go love somebody and love yourselves and have a blessed day.